Hi, it's Sarah, your friendly neighborhood prevention specialist. It is Wednesday, April 15th. It's April 15th, and that means that it is time for a class for 6th to 8th graders. Um, so, hello, middle school students. I hope you are all well and happy and doing well. If you're in Washington State, you're not going back to school until fall, so I will be with you every Wednesday for 6th to 8th grade for the foreseeable future, hopefully through June or until I run out of information. Okay, we're going to go right into the lesson for today, which is personal safety. And I have lots of tips about like being safe at home, being safe when you're out and about, being safe online, all that good stuff. And this is really good groundwork for some of the things that we're going to cover in the coming weeks. So some of the things, again, that we're going to talk about that are threats to your personal safety: bullying and cyberbullying. We have talked about cyberbullying already a bit. Sexual harassment and sexual assault, stalking, grooming, abduction, blackmail, trafficking, identity theft. Believe it or not, even in middle school, you can be the victim of identity theft. And of course, if you can think of anything else, I would love to hear them in the comments. So when we are facing like unsafe or risky situations, our gut usually tells us. And I say this so often to kids: trust your gut, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong to you, it's probably wrong. If it feels off, even if you're with people that you like, if something feels off, it's probably off. Get more information or get the heck out of there. So how do we know? Like, I know for me, my stomach hurts. Sometimes I get nauseous or a headache. Sometimes people feel like, they get like a tingly feeling in their arms or hands. Again, whatever that feels like for you, then something is off. And I'd love to hear what those are. When I teach classes, it's typically very interactive. So we usually have a conversation during class about all of these things. So being here online, we're not able to really do that as well, but we're gonna do the very best we can. So when you feel unsafe, either physically or emotionally, what are some things you can do? You can talk to a trusted adult. Now, this is a person who respects your physical and emotional boundaries, someone that has safe and healthy boundaries. They recognize your feelings and they let you express your feelings. That's a trusted adult. Somebody who understands that it's your choice when you say no. That listens to you when you're happy or scared. Believes you when you're confused or concerned. Somebody that spends time with you, that helps you make healthy decisions. Doesn't make you keep secrets and make you feel uncomfortable. Somebody who takes action to keep you safe. That's a trusted adult. This can be a parent, either a mom or a dad, or a foster parent, an aunt or uncle, an older cousin, an older sibling, a teacher, a counselor, an advocate. It can be any number of people. Hopefully you can think of 4 trusted adults, 4. And talking to those people. Or one of the things that I do for homework with this class is I have you guys talk to whoever it is that you're living with, your guardian, about a safe word or safe plans. So my kids have a phrase or a word that if they text me or call me, however they get a hold of me, if I hear this word and or phrase, I know something's wrong. And you can have that in your family as well. And I encourage you to do that so that it can look like maybe your favorite meal. So you call your parent or your guardian, whoever it is that you're living with, or one of your trusted adults. You text them and say, I wish we were having pineapple pizza tonight. Or you know, my favorite fruit is kiwi, something like that. That if you text that or say that to them, something kind of innocuous, that they know that something's going on. Um, my parents, and I know a lot of parents, really have no problem like being the bad guy necessarily. So if you're in a situation where you're not comfortable, for example, when I was a teenager, I could call my mom and be like, "Oh yeah, so you want me to come home?" Because my friends couldn't hear her on the other line. I'd be like, "Oh, so you want me to come home? Okay, fine, I'll come home. Come get me then." And she knew that I needed to come home, and she wouldn't ask questions. So setting that up with a family member, somebody that you live with, or a trusted adult who can get you home or get you safe, is your homework. That's what I want you to do. I want you to have that conversation about being in tough situations, whether you find yourself at a party where there's drugs and drinking and you don't want to be there, or you have been partying and you need a ride home, because you don't need to drive and you don't need to get in the car with anybody who's driven. Trust me when I tell you, the trouble that you get in for being at a party or for drinking is going to be way less than the trouble you're going to get in for being either intoxicated behind the wheel or with somebody who is. You still might get in trouble, but it's going to be way less. And your trusted adults want you to be safe. They understand that none of us make the best decisions all the time. So they understand that and they want you to be safe. So your homework is to have that conversation with your trusted adults about like a phrase or a word or something if you're in a situation that you're uncomfortable with and you need help getting out. So some other things that help you with personal safety. Self-care. Self-care is really important. Taking care of yourself so that your body, your mind, your spirit, all of those things are feeling healthy. That can be hard to do right now because maybe some of your self-care is hanging out with friends and you can't do that right now. Unless you do it on like Zoom or there's one called House Party that I haven't really looked into. There's ways that you can stay connected online, but you can't necessarily be connected in person. Outdoors, there's lots of things right now that we can and can't do as far as self-care. One of the things that you can do is an affirmation. I love affirmations, and your affirmation can be anything. This is the other thing I want you to do today, is write an affirmation. So we have an advocate who works at Beyond Survival. It's where I work. We are the Sexual Assault Resource Center for Grace Harbor, Washington. And her name is Andrea. She's an incredible advocate. All of the advocates are. They're really incredible people and incredible at their jobs. And Andrea is she's short and she's real teeny. And a lot of people underestimate her because she's a small woman. She's a teeny woman. And her affirmation is, "I'm little and I know my stuff." So when she has to go into something that may be scary or really big, like going to court with a victim or going to the doctors with a victim, whenever she has to do anything that is big and or new or scary, she'll say, "I'm little and I know my stuff." And she'll say it 3 or 4 times to herself and go in and do whatever it is that she needs to do. She's just incredible. I wish that I knew the affirmations of the other advocates and the director, because I would share them with you because they're incredible people. But your affirmation can be anything. It can be, "I'm funny and I enjoy making people laugh. I'm capable. I enjoy being me and I enjoy being around others." It can be anything. I want you to write an affirmation for yourself today, and I want you to put it up somewhere in your room or your bathroom or somewhere around your house where you're going to see it all the time. Another great affirmation: "I can handle this. I got this. I'm doing the right thing. I did the right thing." Making sure that you know that even if something's hard and you did the right thing, that you acknowledge that. There are grounding techniques like meditation, yoga, Journaling is great self-care if you like to write. Even if you keep, it's called a bullet journal, just little bits about your day or about an experience. Um, Physical activity like hiking, riding your bike, swimming, um, uh, running, walking the dog, even. Those are great. That's great self-care. Reading is great self-care. Music is great self-care, whether it's listening to music or playing an instrument. All great self-care. Okay, so also great for your personal safety, assertive communication, words and body. So setting healthy boundaries for yourself and how you want to be treated. So the ways that you treat yourself and the ways that you want people to treat you, setting those healthy boundaries. So what does that mean? That's like how people speak to you. Do they know what your personal values are? So if you're not the kind of person who would go to a party where there's drugs and alcohol, if your friends and your peers know the kind of person that you are, and they understand your personal values, they're not likely to invite you to something like that. So I statements like, I feel blank when blank because blank. I would like blank. So something like, I feel frustrated when you make fun of me because it makes me feel bad. I would like you to stop. Thank you. So knowing your personal boundaries and respecting other people's personal boundaries. Just because you set a personal boundary doesn't mean you get to infringe on other people's. So walk like you mean business. Head up, confident. Self-defense is another great way to keep your personal safety, and bystander intervention steps. So have we gone through bystander intervention? Let's see, we've gone through cyberbullying, self-esteem. We have not, so we will talk about that. That is something that we will go through. Bystander intervention. So a bystander is somebody who notices an event but isn't necessarily part of an event. An upstander is somebody who does something about the event and intervenes. So we will go into that more because that's a whole nother class. But for right now, we've got safety tips for teenagers. So this is in Google Classroom. I will put the link and the for Google Classroom as well as the class code. I realized today that I haven't been putting class codes in, and therefore people haven't been able to find things. If you want to print these, it's called Safety Tips for Teenagers. It's about 7 pages. If you want to print it out, great. If not, we're going to go through it here. So because it's 7 pages, we're going to jump right in. Staying safe when going out. Always make sure you have a safe way home. This says at night, but anytime that you have a safe way home, whether you get a ride or you have somebody meet you, or you use the buddy system and walk with someone. Make sure someone always knows where you are going and when you'll be back. Even if they only have a general idea, it's better than nothing. Sometimes we think, I don't want to have to tell my parents where I'm going all the time. But if they don't know where you are, they don't know how to help you if you're in trouble. I still do this with my husband. If I go somewhere and he's not home, I leave a note, and he does the same thing. We do this. We communicate this way with others out of respect, and it's not a controlling action. It's out of respect. Being alone, especially at night, is never a good idea when you're traveling outside. It's always a good idea to be out in a group or at least with one other person. Avoid isolated areas at night. Usually all the time, since that's where you're most vulnerable. Don't take any unnecessary shortcuts at night that are out of the way and could be potentially dangerous. If you have a cell phone, it's a good idea to bring it with you and that you have easy access to it in case you need to make a call. This says carry extra money for a taxi in case you get stuck. We don't have taxis where we live. We're in a very rural area. I mean, we do have some, but they're not up and down the street all the time. So That's for you folks who live in the city. Don't travel with people that you don't know very well or trust. They may put you in a situation you don't want to be in. Remember, it's important that people know your personal values and who you are. If you're walking at night, stay alert. If you're walking anytime, stay alert to your surroundings. In addition, you should also convey with your body language that you know where you're going and you don't want to be bothered. Head up, walking purposefully. If you have earbuds or earphones in, just one. You need to be able to hear what's going on around you. If you live in an apartment building, don't go into the elevator if you feel unsafe, or back stairwells if you don't feel safe. If you're taking the bus, sitting near the driver so you're not isolated at the back is a good idea. Bus or subway, again, these are for more urban areas. Wait in the designated safety area or near a toll booth. If you're traveling in a car, there are a few precautions you should take. Keep your windows and doors locked. Try and park in non-isolated areas and in really well-lit areas. These are for when you start driving. Have your keys ready before you approach your car. Have them in hand before you leave the building you're coming from, because having to fish around in your pocket or a handbag or a backpack can leave you vulnerable. This is obvious, but it still needs to be said. Don't hitchhike or pick up a hitchhiker. In either situation, the person is someone you don't know and you could be in potential danger. Be sure to have your cell phone in case you need to make an emergency call from your car. Staying safe when drugs and alcohol are involved. So always go out with a group or at least one other person you trust. This is in case you or one of your friends becomes intoxicated. There are at least others to look out for you and make you less vulnerable in a potentially dangerous situation. Never consume an unknown substance, because you never know what effects it can have on your body or your mental state of mind. If you consume something that you don't know how it affects you, you could end up incoherent. You may not have the ability to think about your own safety. You could get really sick also. Don't accept alcohol or drugs, for that matter, from people you don't know or trust. Actually, you're in 6th to 8th grade. You shouldn't accept drugs or alcohol from anybody, ever. So just think about like what it might do to you. Remembering too that for those of you who play sports, many schools have very strict policies that if you get caught with drugs and or alcohol, you're off the team. That could jeopardize scholarships. It could jeopardize your sports career. It could really mess things up. Plus, you're going to get in trouble with your parents. There's also a thing called minor in possession. This is kids get arrested for this all the time. Minor in possession. That could be drugs and or alcohol. And you might go to juvie. You'd have to talk to a judge, pay a fine, go to diversion, talk to your parents. It really stinks. So avoiding it altogether is the best idea. However, if you do get intoxicated or someone you're with is intoxicated, please call a trusted adult. Again, the trouble you're going to get into is so much smaller than if you got behind the wheel or you let somebody else get behind the wheel of a vehicle when you're intoxicated, or any number of things that could happen to you. Call a trusted adult. Never leave a drink unattended. Someone could spike it or put an unknown substance in it. If someone puts an unknown drug in your drink, it could cause you to be in a pretty undesirable mental state. There's amnesic effects. There's incapacitating effects. So, and if you're somewhere where your friends are intoxicated, look out for them. Keep an eye out on them to prevent them from becoming in a compromised situation, whether that's being sexually assaulted by someone or getting in a car with someone who's intoxicated, or just generally getting hurt. Never leave with someone that you don't know that well. Although you don't want to travel alone at night, don't get in the car or leave with someone that you don't completely trust. Again, call that trusted adult, even if you have to do it on somebody else's cell phone. If you're stuck for a way home or the person that was supposed to drive you home is drinking, again, call your parents or one of your trusted adults for a ride. Let's see. We don't need those yet. So these are party tips. These are for middle school to high school students. So the party tips are typically for older kids. No, they should not be partaking in alcohol and partying because they're not of age. However, what do we know? We know that it happens. So again, don't leave with someone who's intoxicated. Don't drive when you're intoxicated. It's best to avoid it. But, keep an eye out on your friends and always leave the party with the same people that you came with. Don't leave someone behind. So despite your safety precautions, you may find yourself in a situation where you are approached by a person who poses a threat to you. There are a few things you can do to prevent the situation from becoming dangerous. Try your best to remain calm. This can be tough, but you can do it. I believe in you. Try to remain as calm as possible and try not to panic or become angry. If you're calm, you'll be able to react and think more logically. If someone you don't know stops you and asks you for directions or asks you a question, tell them you're in a hurry and keep walking. There's gas stations, there's other places that they can ask for directions. If the person wants your money or wallet, just give it to them. Just give it to them. It's not worth your life. You don't want to change what could have just been a theft into something violent. Just give it to them. If possible, make a conscious effort to remember features about the person in order to be able to give a description about them later. Or if you see their car, getting even a partial license plate, color, make, model, things like that. If you feel like you're being followed, cross the street. To try to get to a more populated area or go into a store. Knock on the door of a house nearby. Maybe don't go in, but knock on the door and talk to the people. If you think you're being followed by a car, change directions, try to get their license plate number. If you're in an elevator and you're approached, hit the alarm button and press as many floor buttons as possible. Above all else, use your instincts. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not. If you're approached and you feel like your safety is threatened or the person is harassing or scaring you, don't hesitate to call the police immediately. Identify yourself and where you are. You might think, oh, it's really embarrassing. What if I'm wrong? It doesn't matter. Do it anyway. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If I'm an adult, if I came up to a kid and asked them directions and they immediately called 911, in my head, I would think, geez, Sarah, that was pretty stupid of you to scare a kid like that. They have every right to call 911. People who don't wish you any harm are not going to be angry that you're protecting yourself. I'm going to say that again. People that do not wish you any harm will not be angry or irritated that you're protecting yourself. Protect yourself. Trust your gut. Tips to help avoid situations that might lead to date rape. Examine your feelings about sex before going too far. Do not just decide what you feel in the moment. You really should do some self-reflection. How do I feel about physical intimacy, and what is okay with me and what isn't? So setting limits for yourself. So do not perform or let anyone perform any sex act towards you that makes you feel uncomfortable or exceeds your limits, and never feel ashamed about setting limits. These are your limits. These are your limits, and whether they change as you get older or not is up to you. These are your limits. And anybody who cares about you is going to respect your limits. If the person you're interested in is someone worth dating, they'll respect your limits. Communicate firmly and early to your partner what your expectations are. This will make it easier for your partner to know and accept your decision. Somebody who doesn't accept your decision, somebody who's constantly trying to talk you in to doing things they know you're not comfortable with or ready with, that's not the right person for you. The right person will completely respect your limits. Don't be afraid to be forceful and firm if you feel uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable or fearful in a situation, get the heck out of there. Listen to your gut. Trust your gut. Be aware that alcohol and drugs are often related to date rape. Excuse me. I thought I was going to hiccup. Be sure to always have a friend with you who you trust in situations. If you are drinking, if you're partying, again, you're 6th to 8th grade. You shouldn't be doing these things. But if you are, please make sure that you take care of yourself. So ways to protect yourself from a date rape drug. We've all heard of roofies. It's also called Rohypnol or GHB. It is very incapacitating. Alcohol is the number one drug used for date rape because it's incapacitating and has an amnesic effect. What does that mean? That means that you may not remember any or all of the attack. You'll know that something happened and you'll feel scared. You'll know something bad happened, but you may not be able to remember any of it. So never leave a drink unattended. Don't accept a drink from somebody you don't know. Be careful if you are partying. Be careful who you're partying with. Hopefully not someone you just met. And again, these are from middle school all the way to high school. So some of the stuff you're like, this doesn't apply to me. Just remember it for later. At a party, don't accept any open drinks from anyone other than a trusted friend, even a soft drink. Be cautious of what you're drinking. Is it at a punch bowl? How many people are around? What's going on? Stay alert. Be aware of the behavior of your friends, the people around you. If they appear much more intoxicated, then maybe you should be concerned and get them home safely. Don't ever leave a party with a stranger or an acquaintance. Don't leave anywhere with a stranger or acquaintance. Don't ever let your friends leave somewhere with a stranger or someone they don't know very well. This is at a party, but I think anywhere. If you suspect you or your friend has ingested a date rape drug, go immediately to the hospital or call the police. You can be tested for Rohypnol. The test should be done as soon as possible because the drug can only be detected 48 to 60 hours after being taken. So it leaves your system pretty quickly. What to do if you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, if someone has been raped. Tell someone you trust who can help you. Having the support of a close friend or parent will help a lot. If the victim is someone you know, talk to them and offer them your help. The very first thing you should always do is believe them. Just believe them. These 3 words, I believe you, are huge. People are usually very, very afraid to talk about sexual assault because they're afraid that they won't be believed. Just believe them. False reporting of sexual assault does happen. However, it's only about 2 to 6% of the time. So for every 100 reported rapes in the United States, less than 1% of those statistically is a false report. It happens and it can really ruin someone's life. However, it happens a lot less than we think, and it happens at the same rate as other false reports of other felonies. So contact your local sexual assault center like Beyond Survival if you live in Grays Harbor, and talk to an advocate. If it was you that was sexually assaulted, that advocate can help you through the court system if you want to press charges with law enforcement, all of that stuff. If you don't, they're just a great resource and somebody to talk to. If it's somebody that you know, calling an advocate and talking to them about how do I be a good support system for this person? What is it that I can do to help my friend or my family member through this? And even if it's in the middle of the night, most sexual assault centers have a crisis line. Beyond Survival has a 24-hour crisis line. Get medical help if you need it. So if you've been sexually assaulted, get to see your family doctor or your local hospital. If you have concerns about like a sexually transmitted disease or pregnancy, they can also help you. Furthermore, a doctor or a sane nurse, that's a nurse who has been trained to do rape kits. Not every nurse and not every hospital can do that. So, Community Hospital in Aberdeen doesn't have any trained sane nurses. So, Summit Pacific in Elma does. Otherwise, you'd have to go to Olympia if you live in Grace Harbor. It's very common to want to shower directly after an attack, but it's important not to do this before seeing a doctor. Otherwise, some evidence may be washed away. And you have about, I think it's 4 days to get to a doctor or a hospital to get a sane exam. Otherwise, after that time, evidence starts to degrade, and there may not be enough evidence, and your body heals really quickly. So there may not be enough evidence. So the sooner, if you or someone you know is sexually assaulted, the sooner the victim gets to the hospital to get an exam, the better. You can report the incident to police. Even if you're unsure whether it was a rape or not, they can still help you. The reality is, if it feels wrong, it probably was. So many people doubt themselves after an attack. It's still a good idea to report it. Often victims are afraid of telling anyone because they don't think anyone's going to believe them. However, friends, family, medical professionals, and police are there to help you. You will never know if they believe you unless you try. And if you go to that first trusted adult, they don't believe you and or they don't help you, go to your next one. Keep telling someone until they believe you. All right, safety at school. So school is usually a safe place, but difficult situations can and sometimes arise because a lot of your time is spent at school normally. You need to know what's going on in your school. If you or someone you know is threatened by another student, take them seriously. If you're in doubt about what to do in the situation, discuss it with your parents or someone you feel comfortable with, like a teacher, a coach, or a guidance counselor. Be careful of people on school property who seem like they don't belong there. If they appear to be a threat to the safety of the students, report it to the principal or another authority on school grounds. If you have problems with other students, becoming involved in a physical fight can only make the problem worse. If you feel your safety is threatened, letting someone else know can help you with the situation. Even though it seems like a last resort, telling your parents or teachers may provide a way to keep you from being harmed. Don't let pride get in the way of avoiding intimidating situations. Nobody wants to get hurt. If you're aware of other students bringing weapons to school, report it, even if you have to do it anonymously to protect your identity. Always report it if someone brings weapons to school. Knives, guns, brass knuckles, whatever, always report it. If someone at your school makes you feel uncomfortable by making comments about your body, staring at you in an offensive way, inappropriately touching you, or anything along those lines, that's considered sexual harassment. And you should let someone know right away that it's not acceptable behavior. There's a thing that all schools have called Title IX. And Title IX is there to protect you and the staff from sexual assault. Every school has a Title IX, and every school should have a Title IX officer. So it's whoever's in charge of your Title IX. It's usually a teacher or a guidance counselor. Sometimes it's an administrator, like a vice principal or a principal. But if you're being sexually harassed at school, that's a Title IX violation. And the school has the responsibility to keep you safe. If you're expected to go straight home from school and you decide not to, you need to call your parents and let them know where you're going. One, you don't get in trouble, and it keeps them from worrying. When you leave school, take a reliable route wherever you're going. For example, don't take a ride from someone you don't know that well, or travel alone when you're not sure of where you're going. Tips for being safe at home. Although being home alone during the day or night can be fun, it means you're in charge of the house. That's always nice. Taking a few extra precautions is just part of the job. So, like if you're babysitting or your parents are gone or whatever, take a few precautions. If you answer the phone and aren't familiar with the person on the other end, don't let them know that you're home alone. If someone calls for your parents or siblings, just say they're busy and you need to take a message. Don't reveal personal information about yourself over the phone. If someone calls, like doing a survey or selling something, just tell them you're unable to answer the questions and hang up. Lock the doors and windows, prevents people from entering your house without your permission. At night, make sure the outside is more visible, so turn on your porch lights and things like that. Make it known that someone's home, again, by leaving lights on, especially like your front and back porches. Know who you can call for assistance. So if you're home alone and your parents aren't available or whoever you live with is not going to be available, make sure that you have a couple of numbers of people that live close enough to you that can help you, and that you have the non-emergency number as well as 911. If you live in an apartment, don't buzz up people that you know. If you have to answer the door, check first. If you don't have a peephole, you can always ask, who is it? If it's someone you don't know or you don't feel comfortable, just let them know, hey, I can't answer right now. You have to come back later, or find out more about what they want. Don't let people into your house that you don't know. Even if they say they work for the phone company or whatever, just tell them, hey, we can't take anybody right now. You're going to have to come back. And then let your parents know when they get home. So safety on the internet. These are some more tips about tech safety. And the internet is a great way to chat with friends and do research for school, it can be a dangerous place. So never give out any personal information about yourself or your family: address, location, age, name, where you go to school, telephone number. When you're in chat rooms or social networking sites, even instant messaging, remember, not everybody is who they say they are. Predators can post fake names, information, and pictures. So someone claiming to be a 14-year-old boy could be a 47-year-old man. Predators will even post a fake picture and pretend to be someone else. Therefore, checking with your parents. Therefore, don't plan on personally meeting anybody that you've ever met online without checking with your parents, because you could really be in danger. We'll talk about that more in other classes, like trafficking and things like that. If someone harasses you online, so we talked about cyberbullying, you can walk away from your computer, you cannot respond, you can block people, but definitely tell a trusted adult. And if the harassment is getting crazy, let your internet service provider know that you want them blocked. Predators attempt to lure people your age through the use of the internet. So 26% of sex offenders that were polled said that they use social media sites. And I suspect that number is probably a lot higher. But they use social media sites to gain knowledge and gain trust. This is a danger to your personal safety. Like bullies in the classroom, there are bullies on the internet. Cyber abuses are carried out by cyber bullies. It's a unique form of abuse that occurs online or through cell phones in the form of hateful messages, bashing websites, hacking, posting mean comments, or posing as someone else in order to receive personal or private information. There's great resources for cyber abuse, like www.stopcyberbullying.org, netbullies.com, wiredsafety.org, and for victims of violence, victimsofviolence.on.ca. So those are just some personal safety tips. As far as online, again, don't give out personal information. Don't meet with people that you talk to online. And we'll go through media literacy in another class, but I wanted to do this personal safety one before we get into some of these bigger, because this is a really good groundwork. So again, if you can print this off, on Google Classroom, that's great. I'll give you the link as well as the class code. If you have any questions or you came up with any other great safety tips, affirmations, any of that, I would love, post them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. As well, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a class. Wednesdays are always for grades 6 through 8. Oh, yeah. And be sure to go through that safety plan with the people that you live with and your trusted adults, so that you know and they know what to do if you should ever get into a situation that you feel unsafe or that you just need to get out of. All right. That's it for today. You guys are awesome. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And remember, until we meet again, be kind and wash your hands. Bye-bye.